And so in deciding what type of government is the most just, we must look at, according to Locke, we must go to the very beginning of Locke's second treatise of government, the state of nature. So in the state of nature, man is in a sort of a condition before civil government. So he's out by himself without any relations to any other man. Now, in the state of nature, man can see through his reason that really other men like him are equal. The difference between man and man is not near as great as the difference between man and animal. So he uses his reason and his thought to really see that there's an equality amongst men. And he uses that same reason to see that man has natural rights, and natural rights of preservation. And I cited Thomas Aquinas on this just because I thought it would be helpful to my argument. So Thomas Aquinas says there are 3 precepts in natural law. The first one is that all men have an inclination to preserve themselves physically. So this is kind of obvious. All men want to survive and keep living, but it's an important one. The second one is that all men have an inclination to preserve themselves throughout the generations. So we're talking about having kids and teaching those kids and preserving the human race. And the third one is the preservation of the soul. Aquinas says that all men have an inclination to seek truth and to seek God. And so by doing that, they're preserving their soul. So all these things are ways of preserving man. Now, back to Locke. Locke argues that man has a right to private property. This is important because you have to have private property in order to really survive. Simply because things like food and shelter, you have to have those sort of things in order to preserve your own self. And so Locke states that, quote, "He, a man, removes out of the state that nature hath provided and left it in. He hath mixed his labor with and joined it to something that is his own, and thereby makes it his property." So we see that by laboring for something, you can make your own private property. And you're putting that labor into that sort of thing, and it becomes yours, and you can use that for your means. Now, here's the problem in the state of nature. Just because natural law gives you certain inalienable rights doesn't mean you have necessarily the protection. So, in the state of nature, a man can have private property, but others can come, and they can come and steal that. They can come and even kill him or whatever they want to do. Maybe because there's just not enough protection. He can't maybe stand up to a stronger man or more individuals. So Locke states that man is thus inclined to join society. And he quotes, "God, having made man such a creature that, in his own judgment, it was not good for him to be alone, put him under strong obligations of necessity, convenience, and inclination to drive him into society." So we see that individuals who want to protect their private property and their natural rights are moving into society with other individuals. And in that society, they are creating a civil government. And the purpose of that civil government is to protect their private property and their natural rights. So we get to the purpose of government. It is to preserve the people, protect the people, put the people first, and to preserve their rights and property. So, in determining what structure is the most just, one must understand that any form of government can become corrupt. The purpose of this argument is just to prove that a constitutional republic has a higher chance of upholding natural law than other forms. So let's get to the other forms. On one hand, we have a absolute monarchy. In absolute monarchy, all the power in government is put into the hands of one man. Now, the problem with this is that there is a great risk that that one man, the king, the monarch, can be very unjust. And if he is unjust, then he can abuse his power. And if his power is abused, then you have a chance that the people will be abused and their rights will be infringed upon. So really, there's really like a 50-50 chance you have an unjust or just ruler, and so the people can be abused. So it's not really a guarantee of just government. And then, so that's on one hand, and then on the other hand, you have absolute democracy. Now, as Americans, we love democracy, but if we have absolute democracy with no limitations, then no constitution, no nothing, then maybe the majority are getting what they want. Maybe their rights are being protected. But there could be some individuals, some minorities, who are left in the dark and who are getting sort of neglected. And so maybe they're not getting really what they need. And so really an injustice is being done there as well. So really that doesn't have a great guarantee of upholding natural law either. And you have other governments in the middle, such as maybe oligarchies, communism even, and like you have other forms of government. But when we come to a constitutional republic, we see sort of a design to follow natural law from the very beginning. And so I use the United States as a great definition of a constitutional republic. And so we see from the very beginning, our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence are mentioning things like inalienable rights, and we have our Bill of Rights. And so we have this foundation that is stating our very rights that are given to us. They're unalienable, so they can't be taken away from us. They're not given by government, they're just stated by our founding fathers to be natural. And that's the foundation. Then you have the structure of our government, the republic. And in the structure, you have, we'll start with the three branches. You have the executive, legislative, and judiciary. And all those three branches balance each other out to make sure that one branch can't become more powerful than the other. And so in that way, one branch or one group, one man, cannot become powerful enough to abuse the people. And so thus, in that way, the people are protected. And in another way, you have the federal, state, and local governments. So the power of government is spread out, and it's so one man can't get a hold of all the power. And adding on to that, you have elected officials by the people, and either directly or indirectly. And so really, the power of government is coming from the people. It is designed to come from the people. And so in that way, it is upholding natural law. And so, and then here's another quote from Locke. He says, "The rules that they, the legislators, make must be conformable to the law of nature." So what we see here in a constitutional republic is the design to follow natural law and to preserve natural rights and to protect the people. Now, because it is preserving natural law and is upholding natural law, then it is also upholding justice, because justice is that which is the principle of that which is right and wrong. And so, and natural law is that which is seen as rights through man's reason. So it's naturally upholding justice. So in that way, because it is designed to follow natural law, a constitutional republic is the most just form of government according to Locke's secondaries of government.